Famous movie lines that weren't in the script. Our favorite movies have delivered some of the most memorable lines we can still quote years after their release. Even though thousands of legendary quotes have been written by excellent and talented writers, sometimes the actor's improvised line is the one that sticks with us forever. When actors and actresses get into their characters, it becomes second nature to speak and act like them. So much so, these artists can deliver lines that are just a perfect representation of their characters. So with this list, let's take a look at the top 10 famous movie lines that weren't in the script. 10. Here's looking at you, kid. Let's start the list with a classic Hollywood movie that is considered to be one of the best movies in the world. Casablanca was released in 1942, and it starred Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. The movie revolves around Rick Blaine, who owns a nightclub in Casablanca and tries to help out his old flame and her husband get out of the country. Humphrey's most famous line was actually ad-libbed. "Here's looking at you, kid," was said offset when he was teaching Bergman how to play poker. The line made perfect sense because the movie is centered around their long-lasting love. And while we're on the subject of Casablanca, the movie's other famous line, "I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship," was dubbed by Humphrey after it was already stopped. Leave it to Humphrey Bogart to create two of the most quotable lines in history.
Now. He's looking at you, kid.
9. I'm the king of the world. At number 9 comes a 1990s classic that dominated the box office. Titanic, directed by James Cameron, was released in 1997 and was once the highest-grossing film of all time. Not only did it win 11 Academy Awards, but the movie also skyrocketed Leonardo DiCaprio's career. Then, 22-year-old Leonardo became a teen heartthrob and a high-demand actor in Hollywood. But did you know Leo's most famous line was improvised by him? Yes, the deck top line, "I'm the king of the world," was Leo's idea. The director David Cameron liked the line so much, it made the final cut and is now the movie's most memorable quote.
"I'm the king of the world!"
8. I know. These two simple words are the perfect example of how an actor has a great understanding of the character. While the Star Wars franchise houses many iconic and legendary lines, one quote was improvised on the spot. Star Wars Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back is the second installment in the franchise and was released in 1980. As most fans know, Princess Leia and Han Solo had a memorable relationship throughout the films, and in one scene, Leia says, "I love you" to Han. Even though Solo was supposed to respond with, "I love you too," as it was scripted, Harrison Ford thought the line did not fit his character. Instead, the actor said, "I know," which became the most famous two-word improvised line in the world.
I love you.
I know.
7. I don't want to go. The Marvel movie franchise is one of the most famous franchises in history, and the Avengers Endgame is the highest-grossing film of all time. With many characters and individual films colliding for an epic finale, it is no wonder fans were super anticipated for the last two films. In Avengers: Infinity Wars, millions of viewers were shocked when they witnessed their favorite characters dust away from cinema screens. While we were sad to see all the other characters go, we can all admit we may have shed a tear when Spider-Man wasn't feeling so good. As the anxious teen falls into Tony Stark's hands, he repeats, "I don't want to go. I don't want to go," expressing his fear of passing. The truth behind the scene is that director Joe and Anthony Russo let Tom Holland improvise this tear-jerking line that ended up being iconic.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Sir, please.
6. You're gonna need a bigger boat. This ad-libbed in number 6 is so popular, people who haven't even seen Jaws can quote it perfectly. Steven Spielberg's 1975 thriller is the most famous film about sharks and is considered by most to be the first ever modern blockbuster. The writer, Carl Gottlieb, opened up to The Hollywood Reporter and talked about how the famous "You're gonna need a bigger boat" was created. Apparently, the line was an inside joke that was often said offset, mocking the size of the small boat the crew filmed on. Roy Schneider thought it would be fitting for the film and tried to sneak the line into multiple scenes until the context finally fit. And boom, the iconic quote was created.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
5. I'm walking here. Anyone who has roamed the streets of New York City knows how crowded and fast-paced the metropolis can be. People bumping into each other and crazy traffic is an everyday thing when it comes to the Big Apple. When filming a scene in Midnight Cowboy in 1969, Dustin Hoffman was almost crushed by a yellow taxi. The actor was so angry at the driver, he genuinely yelled, "I'm walking here," forgetting that the cameras were rolling. As the movie crew did not have the permit to film in Manhattan, this iconic scene was shot without permission. The pedestrians are real, not paid actors, and the cab driver was actually turning on the street. Hoffman's angry line and the cab driver's pissed off response is the perfect example of the New York City vibe.
You know what I mean?
I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a... You don't talk me that way! Get out of here!
4. Here's Johnny. Coming in at number 4 is Jack Nicholson's most legendary line, quoted by millions on Halloween. The Shining is a Stanley Kubrick cult classic for everyone who loves horror and thrill. The film's most quotable line may seem random to most living outside the US, but it actually has a backstory. Director Kubrick told Nicholson to improvise lines with multiple takes of the scene, and Here's Johnny made the final cut. Jack actually was referencing the intro of The Johnny Carson Show, but his terrifying delivery made this line a nightmare in just 2 words.
Here's Johnny.
3. You can't handle the truth. While we're on the subject of Jack Nicholson, up next at number 3 is his other famous improvised line that wasn't in the script. A Few Good Men is the 1992 Aaron Sorkin film that earned Jack Nicholson an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. The film revolves around the conspiracy of 2 U.S. Marines charged with murder and their military lawyer, played by Tom Cruise. In the movie's pivotal courtroom scene, Cruise is demanding answers from Nicholson, and while the script said, "You already have the truth," Jack didn't think the line was good enough. Instead, he decided to shout out the iconic, "You can't handle the truth," a line that proves Nicholson is a master of iconic improvised lines.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
2. I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown? Take any mob film lover, and they will happily quote the famous Goodfellas rant. The 1990 Martin Scorsese classic is on every film geek's must-watch list. As the movie revolves around gangsters of the mean streets of New York, we are met with memorable characters and even more memorable quotes. In one scene, Joe Pesci, a true film mobster, delivers his famous rant, "I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown?" is a line that was based on a story from his real life. In the club scene, he improvised the scene with Ray Liotta, while the other cast and crew members had no idea what the 2 actors were doing.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh.
1. You're talking to me? And at number 1, for the most famous movie line that wasn't in the script, goes to Robert De Niro's most iconic quote. Everyone, and I mean everyone who is old enough to watch The Taxi Driver, remembers Robert's scene word by word. This psychological drama was directed by Martin Scorsese and is about a troubled NYC taxi driver. A young De Niro displayed his range as an actor and delivered the movie's most famous line. The original script for the scene just said, "Travis talks to himself in the mirror," and De Niro just ran with it. "You talking to me? Wait, you talking to me?" was the first thing that came into the actor's mind, and it became one of the most memorable improvised scenes in history.
You talking to me? Then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
Which improvised movie line is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. If you like our video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give us a like. And don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you never miss a video. See you next time.